Elijah, I'm still trying to understand exactly what your main thesis is. So you're against the coverage of Ukraine because you believe that the Ukrainian government is corrupt and not serving the best interests of its people, correct?
So do you want the thesis, or do you want me to answer question by question?
Well,
just wondering.
The question, sorry.
Okay, so my thesis would be very simple. The idea that Ukraine is a sovereign nation that suddenly has decided an election and is being invaded by a foreign country is not the correct narrative, and I believe that that misrepresentation to its people that it was a sovereign nation that could join NATO and the West without the real threat and the invasion of a foreign country is the greatest travesty here, and I believe that the 2014 election, he would disagree with me, clearly has not been fully decided or acknowledged by all parties, and that active conflict that ended in a ceasefire that has not really been acknowledged or even respected by both sides was something that really should have been broadcasted, put into play, and presented to the people and to the world before there was this national global push for Ukraine to become a part of the West. And so my genuine idea of what it is evil is that it's been mischaracterized, misrepresented, and this is not a new war. This is a continuation of a civil war. I don't believe it's just separatists who have not agreed to decide on the results of the 2014 election based upon the interests of two different regimes, the East and the West, Russian Federation, and the EU-backed NATO. So.
But, I mean, we need clear evidence and validation that that election was, in fact, fraudulent. Otherwise, it doesn't really matter what the separatists think if the Ukrainian government in power now is legitimate, correct? Because, in every country, we can go around the world and find there'll be a large group of people that disagree with the regime in charge. But that doesn't give any sort of civil war any legitimacy.
Yeah, so this was not a normal election, which is important, and I'm just going to wrap it up by saying that it's like he even used the phrase, which I would pair it would be revolution. This is an idea of regime change based upon who's backing the country, all the way down to trade resolution. This was not a normal election. This was almost like a war. This actually would be considered a wartime election with travesties happening. I believe over 100 people were shot and killed by police. It does not make the previous administration or regime better, and I think it's actually key to not call it administration but regime. This was regime change in a nation, which goes everything with that, and so I don't believe that the regime change is respected by one side, even if perhaps you might say it was a fair election. I don't think I can fully audit it, and I don't know if there's agreements that it's been audited fully and thoroughly, depending on who you ask, but a country may still have a problem of saying we don't want to change regimes, and that's not just separatists of a Democrat state breaking away from a Republican state, etc. This is the idea of which country, which alliance are we going towards as a nation, and what's our identity as a people, and I think it's a fundamentally much more complex issue.
No, I would just conclude by saying, my perspective on it is, I think no one is disagreeing with you that there is a lot of corruption and malpractice going on in the governance of Ukraine, and that has been there for a long period of time. But that being said, I still think it should be fairly straightforward to pick which side of this war to support and be pro-Ukrainian. But also acknowledge what you're saying, and that the governance of that country needs to be cleaned up going forward. But we can both say that and say we're totally against what Putin and Russia are doing at the moment.
I just think American imperialism forces us to choose a side, and I choose neither.
Just one more thing. I mean, could you not pick a side and then also say, but my side has some work to do on its own end?
I'm not interested in the civil wars of nations that I don't believe are in our national interests. So I'm disinterested, to be genuinely honest.
Fair enough. Thank you very much.
Thank you.